I would make it an earned benefit, just like Social Security, so that you buy in your whole life. It is always there for you, and it's permanent and it's universal.
I would call it Medicare for all who want it. You take something like Medicare, a flavor of that, you make it available on the exchanges. People can buy in.
The fact of the matter is that the quickest, fastest way to do it is build on Obamacare. Everyone does have an option. Everyone, whether they have private insurance, employer insurance, or no insurance, they, in fact, could buy in the exchange to a Medicare-like plan.
I find it hard to believe that every other major country on earth, including my neighbor 50 miles north of me, Canada, somehow has figured out a way to provide health care to every man, woman, and child, and in most cases, they're spending 50% per capita what we are spending.
When Senator Sanders says that Canada is single payer, there are 35 million people in Canada. There are 330 million people in the United States, easily the number of people on a public option. It could easily be 35 million. And for them, it would be Medicare for all, as Mayor Buttigieg says. But for others that want to keep it, they should be able to keep it.
Joining us now, Democratic presidential candidate and chair of the National Governors Association, Governor Steve Bullock of Montana, who I think, Joe, maybe in some ways he's the lucky one.
Yeah, you're the lucky one. Nobody yelled at you last night, Governor, so congratulations on being so astute in planning this out. So, Governor, what's your take on what you saw last night? We'll get into the specifics, but overall, was last night a net win or a net loss for the Democratic Party and those of us who want Donald Trump to be sent home next year?
Yeah, instead of being with you, Mika and Joe, I was actually at town halls in Iowa, New Hampshire, folks that actually vote. Look, I didn't get to see the whole thing, but from my perspective, that I think what people want is somebody that could, one, beat Donald Trump, two, gets the issues and the challenges that people's lives face and could actually get some things done. And we can't have debates that seem disconnected from what people need in their daily lives. And so I think that we still have quite a bit of work to do to make that all happen. Now, when it comes to beating Donald Trump, I'm the only one in this field that actually won in a Trump state, because we need to bring out both our base and win back some of those places that we lost. And folks are really looking for hearing about how their lives will be impacted, actual voters. And we've got to show that we can get things done. You know, even in this divided time, I've been able to get meaningful things done, like Medicaid expansion, health care for folks, freezing college tuition. So by the end of all of this, I know that we're way early into it, but the average folks out there have to believe that we can actually, as Democrats, improve their lives and fight for them.
So I will ask you the question that the candidates were asked on the stage about health care for illegal immigrants. Where do you stand on that?
Look, I think that we have a humanitarian crisis on the border, but no, I would not be providing insurance for those that have come into our country without documentation.
Okay, there you go.
And so, see, you would have stood alone on that one. And the overwhelming majority of Americans, I'm guessing, would be with you on that. We'll find out in the coming days. Let me ask you another question about Medicare for all. Several of the front runners in the polls support Medicare for all, which, of course, if you dig down into it, the pure meaning of that, the Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren meaning of that is that 180 million Americans lose their private health care insurance and lose access to their doctors and the medical providers that they have right now. Would you support Medicare for all?
Look, health care can be accessible and affordable without disrupting 180 million folks. I would support a public option, the ability to buy in to a Medicare program. I'd also, you know, it's about time that with the cost of prescription drugs, that the federal government could actually negotiate for drug prices. And we need to get rid of out-of-network billing and surprise medical billing, but you could do that without completely upending the care that folks get and those that have employer-sponsored insurance, which you point out, somewhere between 150 and 180 million Americans.
Governor Bullock, it's Willie Geist. Good to see you this morning. Joe Biden entered the debate last night with a big lead as the front runner. Do you believe he looked like a strong front runner last night?
Well, I think at the end of the day, Willie, that's for the voters to decide. But I think, look, we have 225 days before the first voter actually expresses their preference. And we've got to make sure that we have somebody that can beat Donald Trump. I think when I travel, that's number one for folks, is making sure that Trump isn't president come 2020. And I think that I have something to offer there that a lot of folks don't.
Adrian?
Governor Bullock, you tweeted last night that after both Democrat debates, we have not heard any answers on how to stand up for rural communities and win back the places we lost. What exactly were you talking about when you referenced that?
Thanks, Adrian. I think there is a lot of discussion. There's not the voices of, and it's Washington, D.C. and our party isn't always connecting with rural areas. You look over the last decade, about 2/3 of the counties in this country lost businesses. Shouldn't have to leave your school or your church or synagogue or your community just to have a decent job. And I think the challenge, there's a lot of this discussion in the Democratic Party about, well, do we bring out our base or do we get back those Obama, Trump voters? And the fact of the matter is we've got to be able to do both. And if we don't win places like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania again, we're not going to win this election. So we've got to be able to be competitive in both, but we got to be talking about what matters in people's lives. In my town halls in New Hampshire and Iowa in the last 2 days, what I heard is folks talking about everything from farm prices. Am I going to continue to keep my farm? To the quality of public schools, to those basic economic issues that impact people every single day when they're trying to turn around and say, can I have a better life and can I provide a better life for my kids and grandkids?
Michael Steele.
Good morning, Governor. Michael Steele here.
Good morning,
question.
Michael.
The Democrats seem to be having an identity crisis, and the president is sort of exacerbating this, talking about, well, there's rumors about the Democrats changing their name to the Socialist Party. That aside, there is an undercurrent of trying to understand exactly where the Democratic Party is. As Joe and others have pointed out, on a policy prescription point, they seem to be leaning more in this government can do it all for you environment. What's your take of where the Democratic Party is? And as the future titular head of that party as president, how do you navigate that divide that seems to be growing within the ranks of the Democratic Party?
Well, I think that there's a lot of both great energy and diversity in the Democratic Party right now that needs to be focused to make sure that we can beat Donald Trump. I mean, I think each and every day as we're out talking, and it can't be all about Donald Trump. There's nothing more that the president would like is to make this election all about him and then him to be able to categorize us of not being connected to the average voter. The average folks, life is too busy to even tune in to these sort of debates. So we need to be able to go forward and say, you know what? This guy said he drained the swamp. It's swampier than ever. Look at these Trump tax cuts. Most folks, $1 trillion of stock buybacks, they sure didn't go to most people that are going to be voting come November. Or if you look at it, the people that cleaned that bar that you're at tonight, this morning, will have actually paid more in taxes than 60 of the Fortune 500 companies. So we've got to make people believe that government can be a constructive partner, not do everything for you, though.
Governor Steve Bullock, it's great to have you on. Great to hear what you have to say. Thank you very, very much for being on.
Great to
and coming up on Morning Joe, we still have 4 more Democratic presidential candidates to talk to. Senator Kamala Harris and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand will join us to discuss their debate performances last night. And Colorado Senator Michael Bennet will also be here. But first, South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg joins the conversation. We got a packed show ahead. You're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.